Hey Jason, if we could do just 3 exercises, let me stop you right there. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about some of these really ludicrous ideas that people come up with. And I used to even engage in a few of these myself in previous videos, and I'm going to rectify that by every now and then making a video pointing out how foolish the mindset is. It is a ludicrous mindset, and it's used for marketing. It's used for nonsense. It's used for guys, whatever special secrets. These are the best exercises. You know, if you could only do 3 exercises the rest of your life, this is the best exercise for doing something. Okay. The only time there's a best exercise for doing something is if it's a contested lift. Right? The deadlift is the best exercise for testing your deadlift. I'll agree with that. The clean and jerk is the best exercise for determining what your clean and jerk is in competition. Absolutely. Outside of competition or setting a strength standard for a lift, which means you have to do that lift, right? You have to know your 1 rep max on it. I don't care whether it's a chin-up contest, a powerlifting meet, a weightlifting meet, strict curl competition. Outside of that environment, there is no such thing as a best exercise. People will even argue, well, there might be a best exercise for you that's not for me. That's also stupidity. It's slightly less stupid than the best exercise, I agree. It is not as stupid. But do you really think there's one best exercise to do for any muscle? Research shows that doing a couple different exercises for the best muscle almost always produces slightly more hypertrophy. So how could there be a best? And as I've said before, probably the closest thing we have to a best exercise that I could think of for a muscle might be the glute ham raise for the hamstrings. But I do other stuff for my hamstrings besides just the glute ham raise, even though I use the holy hell out of it. It's not the only thing I do. Okay? There's no best exercise. Do you know why that's a problem? Because you get overuse injuries. If you're just doing one exercise indefinitely for a muscle group for the rest of your life, you will have a higher rate of overuse injuries. You will also stagnate easier. So even if you did find the hypothetical best exercise for your exact anatomy and structure and physiology, you still are going to need to rotate it out and swap it with other stuff eventually. So what good is it? You can find exercises that you respond well to, right? You probably need to have a couple different ones. You probably need to have at least 3 for any given muscle. Okay? You probably need at least 3. You're going to want to rotate through them. And then you're going to have some that maybe aren't quite as good that you could work in at the same time, so you can do more than one. But let's come over to this other problem. If you could only do 3 exercises, well, if you could only do 3 exercises for the rest of your life, expect to be mediocre. Expect to get less muscle, gain less strength, and expect to get hurt more often. Okay, that is what that mindset leads to, because the problem is that it puts people into the mindset of, well, I don't need more than 3 exercises. If I could get by on just these 3, I could just train these 3 and everything will be good. Do you think that's going to create good muscle balance? Do you think that the human body only has 3 movement patterns? I mean, seriously, we could talk about some really big movements that use a lot of muscle, the squat, bench, and deadlift. But do you think those are the only movement patterns? Do you really think anyone even gets really good at the squat, bench, and deadlift by only doing those 3 exercises? Do you really think that happens? Like, what delusional world where you think it's that easy? Oh, see, as everyone's been so tricked by all this programming and need to do supplementalists. If you just come in and squat, bench, and deadlift and do nothing else, you'll break world records. The magic secret that's been hidden from you. Guess what? People try this. It doesn't work. Even the guys who do the extreme versions of the Bulgarian training still work in some supplemental lifts. Okay? And I want to make that very, very clear. The people who even use that type of training still need supplemental work. And they still run into a lot of problems. Most of the guys I know who train that way have a higher injury rate. I have tried the Bulgarian thing, but I did it with 5 exercises, not just 3. Guess what? It still becomes problematic from an injury perspective, from a muscle gain perspective, and if you can't gain muscle, you struggle to gain enough total strength. Your only options are to up the dose on your gear, bro, or to get fat. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And realistically, and I hate it when I see this stuff, because I've gotten to the point I've come to realize that we need a lot of exercises. And you know what? People will say, well, Jason, you went through a phase of thinking minimalism could work and it was workable and you tried it. Right. Right. And what was the end result? More strains and pulls than I get now. I'm now older, so therefore I should be regressing to some extent. I am leaner, at a lighter body weight, have more muscle, and am stronger on virtually every single major movement. And I'm not just talking about going up a little bit. We're talking about stuff like 70, 80 pounds added to my back squat when I was already an advanced lifter. Okay? We're not just talking about, oh, I'm a little bit stronger. You guys never saw me do a 600 deadlift while training minimalist training. The most I pulled was 575. You guys see me pull well past 600 on deficit pulls. Okay? It's nonsense. This whole idea that, well, if we just do a few, no, we need to be rotating movements. I use a system where I max on different lifts every single week. We rotate waves of band work, speed work, change barbells, do hypertrophy work, do conditioning work, do tons of additional posterior chain work. Look at all the posterior chain work I do on the reverse hyper, the glute ham raise, all the upper back work, the extra tricep work, the grip training, the core training, sled dragging, in addition to all this complexity. And you know what? What's been the end result? I have more muscle, a lot more strength, less body fat, less muscle pulls and strains. Okay? Exercise variation done correctly gives you more gains. Rotating exercises reduces injury rates. It allows you to train harder and get hurt less. Okay, this idea of, oh, if we just did a few. No, we don't just do a few. I mean, I max out on over 30 different exercises every year. Actually, it's going to be more than that sometimes. Hit 1 rep maxes in the training. Look at all the speed work. It's all done rotating bars, bands, chains. Using different stances, sumo, conventional, wide grip, closer grips. Changing barbells. And then we do tons of hypertrophy work, rotating movements so that we avoid overuse. Multi-joint movements, single joint movements, everything. And so therein lies the problem with this other mindset. And I'm going to agree with someone who criticized me years ago when I was saying, well, I think minimalist training can work, and I was trying to work with it. They said minimalist training gives minimal results. And they were right. They were right. Because my progress has exploded on this system. And the longer I use it and refine it, and the longer I coach it with a pretty wide variety of lifters, the better I get at it, and the better I get at getting people results at it. So if a system works to where we're continually rotating exercises, we're training different performance elements concurrently, we're training different strength curves, different grip positions, foot positions, and again, changing strength curves with the bars, the bands, the chains, supplemental work, conditioning work, plyometrics. When we're doing all of this, when we're making phenomenal gains, then in what world is it even possible to be thinking in terms of if you could do just 3 exercises? It actually creates a mindset of limitation and mediocrity. The actual mindset itself is harmful to your progress. Okay, it really is. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.